What's up, y'all? Philly Fly Show checking in here, kicking in Right Way Production Studios, and we back for another week of the Philly Fly Show. And it is the last week of the year. It is the last it is the last UFC fight night of the year. It's the last UFC event on ESPN. And the days are just looking brighter and brighter and brighter. And not only do we have a little recap of last week, we're going to have a small little recap of stuff I wrote down quick of the year, just since I started doing the actual live videos and how successful it's actually been and how much more out there my shows have gotten. So thank you all for subscribing. Thank you all for watching, and share this with your homies, share this with your friends, because man, we've been making some money. Just first off, last week, the pay-per-view was fire. Okay, we didn't do so great, but I don't know what to jump into. Should I jump into the pay-per-view, or should I jump into the quick year review that of the percentages and the numbers? I'm not going to go over all the numbers, but first we're going to go through this because this is on here. Pay-per-view, Merab got just destroyed. It was epically just one of those situations. Like, for one, weight cutting that many times is going to get to you. Merab still looked good in the fight. He just couldn't overcome Jan's or Pewter. He couldn't get over Jan's defense. Jan's defense is I've seen that level of him from him before, but not to that extent. He was perfect that night. Yeah, he got a couple shots landing on him. Yeah, he got, I think maybe Jan got 2 takedowns out of like 18 or something. Totally that is how you beat the champ. And if you don't knock them out, if you take them to the decision, that is how you beat the champ. It's a layout work. And then the Pantoja thing, just, man, that was unlucky. Just pure unlucky. I don't actually. Joshua Van might be the champion, but he's got to prove it out here in these next couple fights with anybody coming up. Because if we saw the Terra, hold on, yeah, Taruso Terra. I know who he is. I only call him Terra. I couldn't think of his first name, so it was throwing me through a loop. But what he did to Brandon Moreno was bad. But that stoppage was really, really early, and I kind of wish they'd run that fight back. I'm in that realm. Yes, we might have seen the same outcome because he was ground and pounding him pretty hard, but we've seen Brandon Moreno take some pretty nasty shots standing up, and he didn't go out. And so for me, he was building back up to his feet. It was all that. It was just bad. And then just want to toot my own horn for Jalen Turner, because that dude has dealt with some serious mental health issues, and I'm glad to see him back because he looked like the dude back, and it's great to see him back. But the Philly Flash only went 7 for 13 last week. We did fail. We had a horrible start. The 13 fight all the way to 9 was fire. We got 5 in a row, but then things just went downhill. But for the year, since we went on a live video instead of just a whole black screen, thank you for following since it's been a black screen. But totally I'm glad I went to this live thing. It's just been so much better for everybody, for me. There's things I definitely have been improving on. I'm hoping by next year I can have some more improvements. But for we'll say the year of the live videos, the Philly Fly Show went 65% on single picks. So wow, 65%. Professional bettors have to sit at a 62% line. So for me to be at 65%, I'm super satisfied with that. The highest ever for a year when I have this whole calculation down for, I think it was 2020 or 2021. It was like 71% for single picks, and that was an insane run for a whole year. But this, since it was mid-August-ish, sometime in there, was the Lewis fight and Teixeira fight. That's what I remember for the main event. That was my first one. So since August, 65%. It's been a great run. The Philly Fly Show will stay with these live videos, obviously, until next year. We have one more event to go through, so let's get into it because I'm really not trying to have a long video for this. It's going to be really quick because, for one, it's the last fight night of the year. They put together probably the best card they could really put together for a fight night. Yes, it's at the Apex, so that's going to be unfortunate. For the heavyweights, it'll be a little more exciting, and for some of these strikers, it'll be exciting, but or not so much strikers too. Grapplers can get closer to you too. So it's a lot of stuff, but not the greatest card. I understand if you're not going to watch. I'm going to watch because I'm a degenerate, but that's I'm a UFC degenerate, man. If you haven't noticed, I watch every single event. Actually, to be honest with you, last week I really didn't watch the event. I was at a stand-up comedy show. Fire. Mark Norman is one of the funniest people ever, but it was just a great show. And I think when I got back from there, I think I got to watch the last 3 fights. I think that's what I did. I had to go back and watch all the other ones, which was kind of hard when you don't have ESPN anymore. So this is a good experience, but it was fun. But we're going to jump into this. We got UFC Fight Night, Brandon Royval versus Manel Kape. It is number 6 Manel Kape versus number 2 ranked Brandon Royval. It'll be a badass fight. The main event, if you don't catch anything, catch the co-main event and catch that main event. There's a couple other ones on here, but just make sure you catch those two because those two are the fire fights of the night. But we'll jump into it. We got match like number 13 here. It's a flyweight female fight. We got Jamie Lynn Horth versus Terzera Bleda. Now, Bleda is a negative 162 favorite, whereas Jamie Lynn Horth a plus 132 underdog. I'm going to Zora here. I just think her skill set's a little bit higher than Horth, but they have around the same amount of fights and same amount of wins in the UFC. So it'll be a good showdown here, but I'm going to give the edge to the favorite here with the negative 162 on Trace Oza. 3 out of 5 on a confidence level. She gets her hand raised. All right. Match like number 12 is a heavyweight bout between Alan Fry Jr. and Gulere Pat. Now, both of these guys are making their UFC debuts. Both are coming from underclass organizations, so they didn't fight in the Dana White Contender Series. So it's going to be a pretty exciting way to kick off a night, with the second fight. So Alan Fry is at plus 142 underdog, whereas Gulere Pat is a negative 176 favorite. I'm going with the underdog here, but don't know much about these guys. What I could find out wasn't very much either about them. So we're going to go 1 out of 5 on the confidence level because I don't know jack blank about either of these guys. So let's get to this next one here. It's match like 11. It's a bantamweight female fight. Melissa Croden versus Luana Santos, number 15th ranked. Luana Santos is putting up her ranking against Melissa. That's a good fight. It's a banger fight. This is one. It's a banger. Like for a female fight, it's that of 2 girls who aren't known. One's good at striking, one's more good at grappling, but more well-rounded, I would say, over grappling. But her strength would be grappling. And Luana is a negative 138 favorite, whereas Melissa Croden's a plus 112 underdog. You can go whatever route you want on this, whatever female fighter you think's better. I'm going with the ranked fighter here, just because I think Luana's more well-rounded. I think if it goes to the ground, Croden will have a little bit of a difficulty there. But 1 out of 5 on the confidence level, she can get her hand raised. All right, heavyweight bout against 2 more guys making their UFC debut. Now, I think, well, no, what actually, rewind that. Steven Asplund is making his UFC debut. Sean Sheriff made his UFC debut and came up short. So Sean Sheriff's a plus 185 or 186 underdog, whereas Steven's a negative 235 favorite. Yo, man, Steven's very well rounded, but his KO and power behind those hands is something that Sean's gonna have to deal with, and he's already come up short. He's only had 5 professional fights, so unless he had a lot of like amateur fights that just weren't sanctioned as under the professional rankings, the experience is going to be with Steven and his 6-1 record. Doesn't have much more fights in him, 2 more fights, but even those 2 more fights with the wins that he's got, man, it's a lot to come in. Plus that power behind those hands, where if Sean Sharif did not get to show that against a guy that he could have beat, that I feel like Yeah, I'm going Steven here. Steven all day. But again, I'm not very confident on this. 1 out of 5 on the confidence level that Steven can get his hand raised after this fight. Now, match like number 9 is crazy to me. I don't know how we're at this point or this outcome. Welterweight bout between Neil Magny and Yaroslav Amosov. I didn't even know this dude was like when I seen his record, I was like, wow, he's got a lot of fights and a lot of professional fights. What kind of promotion did he fight for? He was the Bellator champion, and then all these people are jumping on this bandwagon, and they do this every single time a Bellator fighter comes over to the UFC, and kind of now with the PFL and these other organizations that try to compete with the UFC, people just come in and go, "Oh, they were so great, they were so dominant, they just beat up every." When they come to the UFC, they realize there's levels to this game, and their levels not up here. So you obviously know where I'm going with this. Now, what I will say, Neil Magny is a roller coaster fighter for everybody. For me, I'm not on the right side of the roller coaster. So if you want to fade this, fade it all you want. But Neil Magny at plus 310 versus a negative 420 Yaroslav, this guy from Bellator, just because he was nope, give me Neil Magny. Neil Magny's going to beat this guy up, drag him into deep waters, and you might want to go. You don't even have to because Neil Magny at plus 310. Plus 310. Did you see what he did his last fight? Man, dude has still got it, even though I've dogged him, and I'm kind of jumping on the bandwagon. The reason I'm jumping on the bandwagon is because he's fighting a guy that I think he can easily beat. So that's the way we're going at it. I'm going to tell you right now, 3 out of 5 on the confidence level that Neil Magny gets his hand raised because he's going to win this fight. These Bellator fighters just don't know what hit them. All right, so now there are 2 fights on here that for some reason I had to do a little extra work to find odds on them and see if they're going. So for me, I kind of think these fights aren't going to happen, but if they do, I'm just going to throw them on here and throw my confidence level on there. If you can find them on a betting thing like I did, bet it because it's worth it. Even if they don't fight, then you just lose those parts on your parlay. If it's a single bet, oh well, that sucks. All right, featherweight bout between Joanderson Brito and Isaac Thompson. Now, Thompson is a plus 186 underdog. Burrito's a negative 235 favorite. Burrito's got so much more experience than Thompson. Thompson is like a 2-2 record in professional MMA, whereas Burrito was like 17 and something. So Burrito's going to get the win. Burrito's going to not knock him out. I won't say that. Burrito's going to get his hand raised because that dude can fight. His shortcomings is his gas tank, so we'll see if he's worked on that. But I think he's going to beat Isaac. 3 out of 5 on the confidence level. He can get his hand raised. Featured prelim bout of the evening. Amanda, number 5 ranked Lemos in the strawweight division versus Jillian Robinson, number 10 ranked in the strawweight division. Now, Jillian's a negative 200 favorite. Amanda's a plus 160 underdog. Look, man, Amanda has come up short in a lot of fights, and she has not looked like the fighter that came up and got her title fight. I will not bet on her for much of that, but there's a reason I will pick Jillian Roberson. She has been on a tear. She has shown that she's worked on striking. She obviously was a great career grappler. Just couldn't put it all together, and now she's on this run. Dude, this win right here either gets her to the contender style fight or could get her to a title fight. She's on a tear. She's great. Her and the current champ would be a good fight, but obviously we know Wale is coming back, and that's the fight that's going to be made. But Jillian could get herself into the next title shot later in the year. So hopefully she gets in there. Obviously, I'm going to pick Jillian Roberson here. I just don't think Amanda Lemos. The only way Amanda Lemos wins is if she lands. And Jillian's not going to let her do that. She's either going to take her down and beat her in the deep waters of grappling, or she's going to try to stand and fight with her. Now, if she stands and tries to fight with her, the power edge is going to be Amanda Lemos, but Jillian showed that she's still got power and she's got good hands. So, still going to pick Jillian 3 out of 5 on the confidence level. She can get her hand raised. Jump to the main card here. Catchweight bout for the first one, which I don't know if this fight's going on, but let's just say it is. Bobby King Green versus Lance Gibson Jr. Gibson is a plus 154 underdog. King Green, negative 192 favorite. Lance is making his UFC debut, so not a very good fight to make your UFC debut against a guy like Bobby King Green. He might be a gatekeeper now, but he's a very good fighter and got hands, can submit you, and likes to brawl. So if this fight goes on, I'm picking Bobby King Green here because I just don't see this gatekeeper going down to this newcomer in this game. All right. Looking at this here, I got a lot of ones on here, man. 1 out of 5 on the confidence level on that one. Match like number 5 is a heavyweight bout between Kennedy Njoku versus Marcus Bukeka. Now, Marcus is a plus 112 underdog, whereas Kennedy Njoku is a negative 138 favorite. I'm going to Njoku here. He should win, but man, that guy, he just, when I bet on him, it just seems to go the opposite realm. So knowing that, that's why I kept the 1 out of 5 on the confidence. So like Kenny and Njoku can get his hand raised. Plus, they're heavyweights. Anything can happen there. All right, match like number 4 is a featherweight bout between Malakazai Costa versus Morgan Share. Now, Costa is a negative 128 favorite, whereas Share is a plus 104 underdog. This is a banger, great fight. You don't want to miss. Both these guys are good fighters. Costa's on a tear, whereas Morgan did take an L, but he still got it because he knocked out his last opponent. I will not slouch on Share. I really, really like his game. Costa seems that he doesn't have great head movement, so he ends up taking shots. And that's just a bad night against a good striker like that. But this is a flip of the coin style fight. I'm still going Share because I like the odds. I like his game, and I think he's got the power to put out Costa. That's why I'm going to bet him on there. 1 out of 5 on the confidence level. He can get his hand raised. Match like number 3, baby, middleweight fight between Cesar Almeida and Cesare Elaju. Hold on. Olivier Jacques. Woo! Man, this name just kept coming out wrong in there. But this is Olivier Jacques' little brother. You can totally tell they're related because they just look exactly alike. I literally thought that this was Michael Olivier Jacques. And it was very, very funny when I clicked on it and go, dude, he's had a lot of fights in the UFC. And it was like he had one Dana White Contender Series fight. And then I realized, I'm like, this is his little brother. Oh, it's so funny. But Cesar Almeida, pretty sure he's got some family that's fought in the UFC with that type of last name. So we'll see what type of fight this is. A middleweight bout, negative 220 on Olivier Jacques, plus 176 on Almeida. I'm going Olivier Jacques. I just think that training with his brother and how good his brother is, he's got to have enough game in here to put on a show. So 1 out of 5 though on the confidence level, since I don't know too much about either of the fighters. All right, co-main event of the evening. I talked about this a little bit of a preview. It's a featherweight bout between number 15 ranked Giga Chikadze and Kevin Vallejos. Now Vallejos has a negative 310 favor, whereas Giga's a plus 235 underdog. Giga's just been on a slump, man. A very, very bad slump. He's got crazy good leg power. Doesn't have the greatest hands, but has very good kicks. So Kevin's going to have to watch out for that. Now, Kevin, though, he is a smaller fighter in the featherweight division. Like, you're going to see a size difference between these two. So Kevin gets to the inside. He's going to negate those leg kicks anyways. Kevin might take him down and try to ground and pound him, but I think he'll have enough to do it on his hands. I'm going Kevin here, but I don't like going against Giga on a Giga slump, because what if he lands one of those kicks up to the head, then it's night-night. He's always going to be game, so it's going to be a very scary negative 310 bet that you're putting out there. Yes, I'm 3 out of 5 on a confidence level on it, but I'm just there's the reason I talk about this. This is a fight game. Things can happen. Head kicks, punches, things happen. Or broken freaking arms like we just saw last week. All right. Main event. I almost said match like number 1. Ding, ding, ding. Main event of the evening, folks. Brandon ranked number 2 Royval. Yes, the number 2 ranked flyweight versus number 6 ranked flyweight Manel Kape. Manel Kape, negative 310 favorite. Brandon Royval, plus 235. Where in the... I want to swear. I really do. But I know some of my people I know listen to this have kids in their car or buy some kids. How do the odds makers have this way? I know Royval tore his knee up and and came back a little too quick, they think. But his fight with Joshua Van was still a badass fight. And he is no dog like this. You're going to give it to Manel Kape because Manel's got some knockouts over guys that like aren't the top competitors. Like, yeah, Manel's got a couple good wins. But like, what? I don't see this way. I do not, because if this is a stand and bang fight, even with power, let's just say power strike, there is no soft strike. There's all power. Royval is at the top of the game in this style of fighting. So, like, just very frustrating when I see this, and I'm going to ride this all to the bank. Brandon Royval gets a big win on Saturday and gets his name back in there in the contention for the flyweight championship. Could even see him jump Tara, but I don't see that happening either. But he gets a big win on Saturday. We could talk about it. We really, really could. All right, y'all. Philly Fly Show's checking out for the year. I won't see you guys for a month. 1 month. What's it going to feel like? I might put out a little show of some previews of the year, especially if they announce any more good fights coming up in this first quarter, which they've announced some good ones. But like that first card's fire with that Justin Gaethje, Paddy Pimblett. That's a fire card. Don't miss that. Link, subscribe. I've got to probably put something. You know what? I might put out some NFL show because the playoffs will be happening by then. I think that's also why the UFC is like, we got to, with the whole switch over too, we got to take it to the end of the month. I won't see you guys till January 24th or something like that. Right, in that realm, that's when the date is. But peace out. Have a good new year, y'all. And again, shout out to Royval Production Studios for always making this happen. And we will see you next month.